Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Gamers Parley, episode 11, Uno.
No.
And we're once again joined by the fantastic Nav, clean shaven and happy to see us.
I know.
And Vesh, clean
Hey
shaven,
guys,
not, and just woken up.
not. Yeah, it's 5:30 a.m.
How you
And
guys doing?
good. Living the life. Not,
Yeah.
but yeah.
So a lot has happened since last time we met.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've just flown back in from Australia.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not looking any more tanned than I when I left.
You got a nice fade.
Yeah, I got a Lebanese
yeah,
fade.
It looks good.
Yeah,
But yeah, before
that's
I've had
nothing.
tornadoes.
Yeah.
oh damn.
Yeah, I've had 3 tornadoes touchdown, and it was crazy. Nothing like I've ever seen before. Streets looked like something that we're gonna be talking about today from the world of The
The
Last of
Last of
Us.
Us.
Yeah. I actually sent you
Yeah,
pictures. Do look at them when you get a chance, Johnny, in the Insta. But it was crazy. The worst things, like one of the worst things that I've seen. And I was stuck at my boss's place for the night because
Oh,
it
Wow. Okay.
was crazy. But gladly, no one got hurt from my family or theirs or anyone. But a lot of people did sadly get affected.
mm,
Yeah, slowly getting there. But yeah, what about you, Devesh? What's been happening? I know you've been going to weddings and stuff, and
yeah.
lately,
So
yeah.
my cousin got married, and
Oh,
that's
hide your
pretty
daughters,
much.
I suppose.
And it's been pretty cold here, and so it's like dropping to 5 degrees, 3 degrees, 2 degrees.
Oh damn,
Yeah, so that's
Delhi ki
sad, and
sardi.
nothing else. Yeah, Delhi ki sardi.
That's it. Yeah, I get it. It's a Hindi joke, Johnny. That means there's like a quote they say that the winter of Delhi. It's like a saying that they say that
Okay.
Delhi has a very weird kind of winter. I know it because I've seen enough Bollywood films.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I got to catch up on RRR still.
RRR. No, but Mr. Kojima is RRR and KKRRR and all through his
yeah.
podcast about it, which is really nice to see. But yeah, he loves that film.
Yeah, my professor walked
Mm.
in the other day. He's like, Johnny, I'm gonna tell you because you got to know this film. You have to watch RRR. I said, yes, I do. I know I do.
That's
It's a
funny.
real life anime version,
Yeah, pretty
That's
like
much.
what
that's what it is, yeah,
anime would look in real life.
with brown representation.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah.
semi there, but yeah.
Hmm.
But
Let
yeah,
me change
so
the contrast on the camera.
I know. Then yeah, you don't know what colors we will look like, but yeah.
Yeah. Now I've been called brown overseas, and I'm like, dude, no. Yeah. You're Italian. You're brown. No,
All you
I'm
should
not,
do is
mate. Like,
this,
seriously,
like,
look at me.
come on. What are you talking about?
I reflect the sunlight in during the night time.
But yeah, so today I guess we are talking about something different, something the opposite of what we talked about in a previous episode about how bad game to movie adaptations have been, of game to movie or game to series, and we just talked about basic, adaptations of games into different mediums, and we just could not pinpoint like a great one yet, like something that has been like amazing. The closest one I think for me was like Silent Hill. That was
Mhm.
a little close to the main game. I think The Witcher
For
was
me, it was
something.
Uncharted.
Yeah, Uncharted was pretty good. The Witcher has been actually pretty good. Um, but that is semi based on the books. But
Yeah.
today
Hmm.
we're probably be talking about the best, for me at least, the adaptation of a game to film or
By far.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
That's a Super Mario movie again from the 90s.
Oh my God.
But I do
But
have the hopes from that movie itself, to be
yeah,
honest.
did you guys see that Sunday Night Live Mario?
Oh my
Yeah.
Oh
God.
yeah,
Oh,
It was
man.
awesome. It was so good.
It's
Um,
a me, Mario.
it's a meme, and, and he's like, I would actually watch that.
Absolutely.
Seriously,
So
seriously.
good. But yeah, so finally that curse has been broken. And I think Last of Us, to be honest, going in the first episode, I was still very iffy about it. I mean, I know everything
Hmm.
points to greatness in the sense that, first of all, HBO picked it up.
Right.
Secondly, Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann are writing it down. Huge fan of Craig. And then
Hmm.
True
Pedro
novel was
Pascal.
just spot
Yes,
on.
beautiful. I mean, like beautiful writing and direction too. So
Mhm.
I was like, okay, Pedro Pascal, I like recently anything he's touched, it's turned golden, right? So
Right.
Absolutely.
that was another great thing. And I was a big fan of Bella Ramsey from Game of Thrones.
Hmm.
I thought she played her part like perfectly. And so, and I've seen a couple of other like smaller clips of her acting, and I was like, she could do really good. And yeah, we were like, I was iffy going in, but I was just blown away by how they just started the whole show. And I was thinking to myself, it's so clever to start off with something because they know the first episode is going to be all gamers watching.
Hmm.
Right.
Most, like, I'd say 80% of the audience would be, oh, all the Last of Us gamers.
Hmm.
And the first thing you see is something not even in the game. It's like way back in time, and it's like, these two professors talking about something. I'm like, oh, I was taken aback. I'm like, oh, they're not starting with Sarah. Like, what's
Hmm.
happening? Because to me,
Hmm.
that was like one of the strongest openings to anything, basically, right? Like a prologue towards
Yeah.
the title card.
Yeah.
And I thought they're gonna do the same, and they're gonna do the whole story and then have the title card play in the middle of the episode. But they surprised us all, and what an amazing surprise that was. What do you guys think?
Yeah. So, like similar to you, I was also very much, skeptical about this show. Like it was
Mm,
the only, authentication of quality or certificate of quality, whatever you would want to call it, is that it's an HBO show.
mm,
So to me, that promised at the worst case a 7 or 7.5 or maybe an 8 out of 10 show.
yeah.
And that would have been, like quite good with respect to what video games have been adapted to and
Hmm.
how they have been adapted to.
Yeah.
But again, like how the show opened up and how the show is going on, which we will be talking about now short while, is it's damn man. Like I'm really speechless. Like how clever they're playing with the show. It's like they're adding to the value to gamers who are also watching. Like they are pretty much aware that they don't want to copy it one is to one, but yet keeping it to a very loyal adaptation, I would say.
Hmm.
And it's kind of a like added value to people like us who've played the game at least once, right? And so from the cinematic aspect of it to the very tiny moments and how they're playing it, it's very natural. Like
Hmm.
I'm pretty much blown away. Like I was also skeptical on Bella Ramsey, but it took me till episode 4 to be honest.
Oh, really?
I would
Okay.
say, yeah, yeah. But I'm pretty much impressed by her playing
Ellie. Yeah.
Ellie.
What
Yeah.
about you, Johnny?
So, with any science fiction, I go in with suspension of disbelief because as much as
Hmm.
I love science fiction,
Hmm.
it's always that little something that never gets on with me, scientific. But we're talking about something that's been studied by biologists,
Hmm.
and
Right.
it starts with the biologists or microbiologist, mycologist, if you want to put it,
Hmm.
talking about the
Hmm.
virus, or no, pardon me, the fungus,
Yeah, fungus. Yeah.
and it's all correct scientifically. I was so happy.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
very different from the game, and it then gets onto the game part with Sarah,
Hmm.
which I found to be absolute. The game never got me that into the character.
Yeah.
This was
Hmm.
gut wrenching because you follow this little girl for the whole
Hmm.
day.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
It was like, well, I mean, of course, it was, for me, it was really special in the game too, but I love the fact that they went more into her character because they realized for TV it's gonna be different in that sense that people like character development when it comes to TV series, and uh,
Right.
movies and stuff. So she needed that. She needed that whole sequence of her, going to school and then going to get Joel's watch fixed. And rather than buying a new one, that was a slight change. I think in the game she
Hmm.
buys her him a new one, and this one she just I think repairs it.
How could she afford it?
Well,
Drugs. I sell hardcore drugs. Okay.
I'm glad they
Yeah.
kept that one.
Oh, that was so good.
That was so good. But yeah, like it was like not seen, as Divesh said, it was not scene to scene, but the things that they added to it added more to the game itself. Like the whole plane
Right.
crash thing that happened rather than the gas station
Hmm.
going up. I thought that was a great difference.
The what? Sorry.
Right.
The plane crash.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't even in the game, and I was, yeah, like I watch it with my wife now, and she doesn't know anything about the game, and I just keep like every now and then I'll be like, oh, I'll be that Leonardo DiCaprio memes, like, oh man,
Same.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's like,
man.
oh, there it is, that's from the game, and she's like, okay, so I'm like, I keep telling her this is different, this is not, and this actually happened, and this didn't happen, so I just keep updating her on that. But yeah,
Hmm.
brilliant acting by the actress. I'm forgetting her name. Um, who played Sarah? But yeah, she did.
Oh, she has a funny name.
I have no idea, but yeah, I can't remember. But she did a fantastic job playing
Nico
Sarah.
something.
Pedro, I was pretty happy from the start. As soon as I saw how Pedro was portraying
Hmm.
Joel, he has like what I liked about even the behind the scenes of the show was like they never told them to watch the game or play the game.
Yep.
They said bring your
And
own. Mm,
that translates to how important that decision is. And
yeah.
it's like I don't know that much about acting, but I do know that like actors are like what artists only, and artists are best when they are left alone to
Hmm.
have their own ownership on the role or the art that they're creating and
Yeah.
their own take, right? And it's been very much well documented as well as seen that
Hmm.
whenever actors are told to like add their own spice to or their own uniqueness to the character they're playing or whatever, so it
Yeah.
always translates to a beautiful performance. And right, and so like kind of reiterating the same, but this show, the best thing about this show is it's not only a good adaptation, but it always hits the very best notes, like the very sweet
Hmm.
notes of how a video game should be translated. Like it is like, and it is not something that anyone would have expected out of the show. Like they would have easily performed with all due respect, like 30% less, it still would have been a pretty good show, right? But
Hmm.
how the show is translating to like how you told that she repaired the watch and how the POV, like the point of view in the first episode was all around Sarah. And
Hmm.
so all those tiny things, it's pretty intense when it
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
seen
It works for
collectively.
television writing.
Yeah,
It just works perfectly because come to think of it, the game is usually just controlling Joel and just killing zombies or
And
infected
dying a
or
lot.
exactly and dying a lot.
yeah,
So they
Be
can't
very
do
out of
that.
character in a TV series if you died a lot.
Exactly. Yeah, that would be like every 2 seconds they have a restart screen. Well,
right.
if
Space
you
ripped
guys,
open by
yeah,
a
if you guys are
fungus.
hearing the podcast of the show, they
Yeah.
said they wanted to start each episode as a window shot, and you
As a
click
window
play,
shot,
and
yeah,
that's where the episode starts from.
yeah.
But they left that idea out later on, which would have been interesting. But yeah, I mean, I think that was a better creative choice to not go with that. I
That would
preferred,
have been turned out as more gimmicky than,
yeah, than anything
yeah,
else. And I love the fact for the first 2 episodes before the title card, they showed stuff that no one has seen, not even the gamers,
absolutely, absolutely,
right? And
yeah.
they had such a huge impact. Like I'm not so on this episode, I don't want to talk about what we already know from the game. I want to like more focus on the changes that they've done. Because if we talk about everything,
Hmm.
people already know about
Yep.
the game and everything. And I want to talk about the changes that they've made and how beautifully they have incorporated that into the world of it, right? Like, for instance, even the first, like, of course, the first change was giving Sarah more screen time. But the second
Right.
thing, right after the title card, we see that kid just walking towards a QZ. And that whole sequence was just gut-wrenching, right? Like
Yeah.
one after
Seriously.
the other, like right after the title card, another, like it was a short story on its own.
Like, give me time to wipe my tears.
Exactly. Like what the hell? And and
Yeah, they're
the
killing
and the
us.
contrast that happened, like I love the fact that she's the officer, or the federal person. She's calming the kid, like it's okay, what do you want, even though she's
Right,
seeing
right.
the scanner turn red. She knows he has to go, but she wants to make sure that he doesn't know that. And the very next shot is like of the mom and Joel throwing bodies
Throwing the
to
body,
burn
yeah.
them. And
He
just that
just doesn't
whole
care.
no, just that contrast of before the title track, Joel just holding Sarah and just crying
Mhm.
his eyes out, and
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 then how cold he was when he
and
threw
then he
that
was just
kid.
cold lifting that body and just throws it away.
Yeah,
That little thing, just that jump in time. So, well,
seriously.
you can tell, okay, there's a jump in time, right? But to show it so effectively into a change in character, and hats off to Pedro Pascal to, portray it so well. He had literally no expressions. He just threw the girl inside and went about doing
Right, right.
what he had to. So that itself establishes the fact that, okay, you know what, now he's not the same Joel that we kind of knew in the first 10 minutes, right? And yeah, I loved that change. Well, what about you?
Mm.
What about you guys? What else did you think about the other
So,
changes that were made?
yeah, okay, so thing is that since you talked about that particular scene where that Fedra personnel is treating that kid, and so the beautiful thing about me, I'll just add to that very thing that you
Mhm.
talked about is in those couple of minutes, like you mentioned, it's such a beautiful short story itself out of that particular episode that
Mm.
in couple of minutes or maybe like 3 minutes, that show tells us how exactly is the world being treated and
Yeah.
what is the current state of the world. It is like in those 2 minutes everything is made clear, like what is the life of these people in terms of treating each other and handling each other, and how such things are taken to be as liabilities. Like that kid was a liability to them, right?
Yeah.
And that was meant to be disposed of, like. So yeah, and apart from that, the other changes that I would want to talk about is that um like just
I
let me
think the backstory of Tess,
the backstory of this.
not
Oh man, yeah.
backstory in the sense, but they added more scenes with Tess, like
Yeah, that added to the very depth of that character. This show
Mhm.
is all about the character. It is
Yeah.
less about the world. Obviously, it is showing the world, but it is more about the characters. And I would just want to go to the scene that was shown in Jakarta, Indonesia, right?
Mhm.
In the second episode, and
Mhm.
by that time it was it was kind of getting predictable. Okay, maybe it could be the trend that a couple of minutes prior to the intro scene, the
Mhm.
intro music
Mhm.
would be this, scenes from the yesteryears, if we
Yes.
could call it,
Mhm.
right? But then that is the beauty, that it is being unpredictable in that part. But the beauty of that thing is that they are trying to make us believe that yes, it is a very different post-apocalyptic show,
Mhm.
in which both things are taken parallelly. Like at least for the first couple of episodes,
Mhm.
the world prior to the zombie or apocalypse breakout, and then the post-apocalyptic world,
Yeah.
and how, like if we talk about the official podcast, when in the second episode, Craig and Neil were talking about that how believable it was when like that the source of the origin could be from Indonesia because of the flours and the grains that were
Mhm.
being
One of the
stored
biggest
in a certain
manufacturers in the
spot.
world.
Yeah. And hats off
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
to Redditors and the game followers and like all those investigators. There were already theories, like I think half an hour after the episode ended, I was on Twitter and someone had posted, the theory is it's being spread through flour. And
Right.
since and Sarah couldn't find pancake mix.
Pancake mix.
They
Yeah.
avoided the neighbor's
He
cookies,
forgot the cake for
and
his
he forgot the
birthday
cake,
Mm.
and the
cookie.
cookies had raisins. So they both avoided flour in that way in the whole episode. And that's what I love about the gaming community. Like they pick up on stuff like that
Right.
and they solve it before they even have to tell what's gonna happen. And it was so crazy because I saw that theory, and the very next episode starts with Indonesia. I'm like, there you go. Like that's what
Hmm.
the whole
And
community
that
was talking
makes,
about.
like Johnny said, that place is one of the biggest manufacturers or traders
Hmm.
of those particular, flowers and everything, and
Hmm.
how the fungus, outbreak could rise from, and that fungus outbreak itself is based upon cordyceps.
Yeah.
And in the first episode, in the prologue, they talked about how funguses are like fungi are, transitioning to higher temperatures, to sustaining higher temperatures
Hmm.
because of how we are treating the world. It is such a believable theory, right?
Yeah, let's
That
let's listen to what
yeah.
Johnny, the PhD in biology, has to say
Mm,
about that too. Like, what did you think about that?
Yeah,
yeah.
we've just lived through a friggin' pandemic.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, things
like,
happen, but yeah, the thing with the mushrooms is fungi. They don't resist high temperatures,
mhm,
but with the increment in temperature, you can have strains that start to resist to higher temperatures, and they
Them adapting to
select
the
like through
those.
natural
Yeah.
selection, you'll get
Hmm.
ones arising that can, and then you're going to have
Right.
to have them jump species, which is the other scary part.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
But
It is so believable, if
Yeah.
and
anything else.
and coming like just to mention how Devesh was saying that it did not be predictable in the sense the third episode starts off directly from the title,
Right.
card playing up. So they didn't even have a prologue before the title. Like the two episodes, we were looking at Jakarta and the professor is talking, and then it just went to something totally different. But yeah, another change that I loved was that scene where they're escaping with Ellie, right?
Mhm.
And the
Hmm.
guy stops them, and he's like, "No, you have to stop." He's about almost about to shoot him, and they talked about that in the official podcast too, where Joel kind of has a flashback, and his expressions just completely change into the
Man.
complete rage, and he just
Hmm.
bashes the guy's brain in, right? And
Mhm.
that whole sequence wasn't in the game, but it just added so much more to the character, like that the whole PTSD thing as well, right? Like,
Right.
yeah, it was just.
And
Mhm. Go ahead.
please continue. Continue. I'll
No, no, no,
talk
I'm just
about
saying,
it.
like the layers that they keep adding to everything that was so important is what is making this adaptation so like,
Work.
yeah, exactly. It's just
Yeah.
it's hitting the right
And
notes.
yeah. And the beautiful thing that I have, and it is such a subtle way of transitioning or developing a character.
Mm,
Um, in this show, particularly, Ellie is in a few instances, like 2 to 3 instances, she's being shown as a character who could deviate on a bit darker route compared to the game, at least early on.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Like how you were talking about when Joel beat the hell out of that Fedra personnel, right?
mm-hmm.
And then if you look at Ellie's face in that particular scene, she is pretty much excited. It is like in very contrast to how a normal human would believe, how would act. Like how Sarah acted when Joel hit the infected woman, their neighbor, right?
Yeah.
Despite knowing that she has turned out or something is wrong with her, right?
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
that is a very human reaction.
Yeah.
And then she asks him, like, "Did you kill her or something?" I'm
Yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
forgetting, but
It,
something on the lines.
yeah, well, mm-hmm,
Right. But when Joel, again bashes out that Fedra employee, and then there's a very spark of excitement or maybe an intrigue that is shown for a couple of seconds on face of Ellie,
mm-hmm.
right? And then that is something that I think is a very beautiful way of adding onto the character and maybe slightly deviating it from the game in the sense that very early on it is being shown that Ellie is kind of moving to the a believable darker route than the game
Mm-hmm.
could. For example, in the last episode, it was third or fourth episode when Ellie is trying to play around with a clicker that is
Yes.
uh, under a roof, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's trying to figure out what exactly this is because that was the impression that was given to us. Like she
Yeah.
was trying to figure out, and then she killed it like very swiftly. So
She's
yeah, this is something.
she's sneaking guns, and she's like doing all
Yeah,
that. And that is kind of like another thing that you brought up, right? How Ellie is so different from Sarah. That's the contrast between a pandemic baby and a
right,
regular
right.
world baby. She's gone through shit. That's why she's excited,
Yeah.
because she knows what it takes to survive in this world. So looking at
Mm.
Joel beating the crap out of this guy gives her a sense of relief that
Validation.
she
Yeah,
has someone like him on his side who would do anything to protect her, right? So
right.
that's something. But yeah, that was a very, very good change from the game. I think, it just added more. Um, what did you think about the character of Tess, Johnny? Like how the changes?
Well, both in the game and in the movie, they're not really fleshed out,
Mm-hmm.
and we get a glimpse of her in the third episode, which is kind of cute.
Yeah, it
That
is.
you've got that relationship
Mm.
with Frank,
Mm-hmm.
and apart from that, I don't really have much to say about her.
Well, what I liked about her character changes were, like, of course, the very first scene of
Hmm.
her just being beaten up by these guys, and
Yeah,
she's like, just let me go, nothing's gonna
Yeah,
happen.
don't worry.
Yeah, we like, so she was a badass in the game,
practical.
but now
Yeah.
we see it even more, that she's even more, like, we see that side of her. And another thing that I like they kind of showed was, in the game we kind of figured it out ourselves that Joel and Tess have a thing,
Had a relationship, yeah.
and in
Mm.
this one she literally gets into the bed.
Mm.
So
Right,
that's like
right.
cleared right away that, okay. And I think that's one other reason why they revealed Ellie's infection thing so early on than the game,
Hmm.
because with television, people need that motivation of why do they
Right,
want to
right.
watch this show? There has to be that,
Hmm.
that incident, or like something that tells them, okay, I'm interested, or how is this gonna go?
When do they reveal it in the game? I can't remember.
Later on, with the spores, when she can breathe spores,
Oh,
and
okay.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and she's like, another big change, by the way, no spores in the in the
Yeah.
TV
yeah.
show, which is a big
Hmm.
big change, but I like what they've done. Scientifically speaking, like Craig was saying in the podcast, the spores will technically spread everywhere, right? Little by little. So, which makes sense why they would go with that. But I like the fact that whatever they introduce next, even though if it's not possible naturally, but it is a very cool concept, right? Like
Right.
one, like the whole network of the fungi communicates with each other, and
Hmm.
anything happens on one side, the other ones know as well. So
Do you know what
another
that's
great,
called
yeah,
in biology?
yeah,
The wood wide web.
yeah, that's true. Anyway,
Connection
just a
between
quick one.
fungus and
Our
tree.
our our break is coming up. We'll have to
Yeah.
restart. Yeah, we are still poor. We only have a few views on our channel, so
Sponsor us.
yeah, let's play a clip of The Last of Us in between the take. That'll be nice. Like, we'll pick the scene. We'll talk about it. But yeah, we'll show
Hmm.
you a bit of Last of Us before we come back.
Joel, did you know diarrhea is hereditary?
What?
Yeah, it runs in your genes.
That is so goddamn stupid.
You laughed,
I
motherfucker.
didn't laugh.
Yes, you did.
Jesus, I'm losing it.
You're losing it big time.
Go to sleep.
You gotta sleep.
Yeah, so that video was really good.
Yep. But yeah, like, I mean, those little changes, everything that they've brought in has been just amazing. I didn't, to be honest, I did not expect them to do it so well.
Right.
And then the demise of Tess. I was really actually really surprised by the character choice of Tess. I mean, the actress who played Tess, she's really good. I've seen her in a few shows, and I'm like, whoa, they got. When I saw the actress, I'm like, she agreed to play a part that will only last like an episode because she's pretty
Mm-hmm.
big. Like she's a great actress too. But I'm like, sometimes I guess the role is bigger than the actor, and
Yeah.
she did a fantastic job with that. And in the podcast, Neil and Craig said they had a backstory to Tess that they didn't add
Mm,
in the final cut of the show,
mm,
which I
yeah.
thought would have even made it even sadder. But then I get their point as well, not to add so many, like, if you can't just keep doing sad stories in every episode too,
Mm,
right?
right.
But I like that we at least got some backstory into Tess, that she actually had a husband and a son, and they both
Mm,
turn and she kills the husband, but she could not kill the son, and
right.
she locks him in the basement and just goes away. And that whole thing that kind of added to, you could see that whole, like, again, another thing from episode 2 that I would love to mention uh is the design of the clickers. My God,
Mm.
they just nailed it. They just
Good
went with
job.
exactly
Great
what
And
job.
the
it's not CG. And it is not CG.
yeah,
That
that's the
was a
best
great thing.
part.
It's
It's all
practical effects.
prosthetics. Yeah, it's all prosthetics, and the
Yeah.
guy who's done it is a guy who's done it for Chernobyl and Game of Thrones.
Oh,
So that guy knows what he's doing. So I mean, absolutely, still as horrifying as the game, right? Like the clickers were just
seriously.
they use the same voice actors who make that clicking sound.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if I try and do it as Bella Ramsey said, even she sounds like a dolphin, so I don't want to do that. So, but that whole
She
sequence,
actually does a good job when they've got her chained up and she's being stupid.
yeah, I know that was really good.
Hmm.
I love how, even though I mean Pedro and Bella did not know anything about the game, weirdly enough, there's so much Joel and Ellie that we see in them, and
Hmm.
that's the I
Except
think.
the accent.
Yeah. Kudos
But
to
who
kudos to
cares?
the directors and the writers to write in such a way where every little detail is explained into why
Right.
a character has a certain expression, to go
Hmm.
into that much detail, to give so much to the actors and then them performing it. I think that plays a big role, because knowing the fact that the actors didn't know about, they haven't seen the full gameplay, that's something with very,
Hmm.
I'd say, amazing that these guys actually managed to pull it off that way. But yeah, the end of Tess was as sad as it was, but that freaking kiss.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh,
Man,
that
I
gave
want to add on that thing.
me that
Yeah.
was, I did not expect that. I'm like, what is happening? I'm like, okay, first of all, it was not the infected. It was Fedra in the game that shows up
Yeah.
into that building, and she fights them.
Hmm.
This time it's the whole theory of the tendrils, right? Just the fungus interact, letting the other, all that horde of clickers
And
know
that
that they're
makes sense
there.
also.
Yeah,
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 that makes sense in the aspect that we've seen in the game that a significant bunch of people in a form of a horde would come behind you and everything, and that kind of translates to the believability of this concept and how this is being shown in the game,
yeah,
the TV series, is that how there is a kind of the fungi is shown as a is more than a living thing. It's kind of a very intelligent
yeah, yeah.
um, alien kind of species that is actively
Exactly.
working in
A
parallel
living
to
thing.
keeping its own, yeah, to
Yep. Yeah,
keeping
like,
itself onto the power with the people that are trying to destroy it.
yeah,
And that is shown in two places quite perfectly. Is one is that concept of tendrils, like whenever you step
step
on
on.
to one of those, and how all the like the infected are connected to each other from that through that network. And uh, the other thing is that when we saw that last kiss between Tess and that infected, it
Mm,
was showing that how, like, this zombie, like, again calling zombie, like this fungi itself, the fungus itself is it's more than just a living organism in such a way. It's an intelligent living organism. It is always on the run to reproduce more. Like, and
Mhm.
that is the way of a survival. If you talk
Like
about,
me.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like like even in the podcast, I love how Craig and Neil said the main theme of the show, the first season, is love. And love
right,
comes in every form. It doesn't have to be beautiful every time. It doesn't have to
yeah,
be a
yeah.
lovey-dovey. It can be hate. It can be revenge. It can be anything. You would do anything for love.
It can be survival. Yeah,
Yeah, and that's the fungus. That's the fungi's way of showing love to their own by multiplying. That's what we do. We multiply.
absolutely, absolutely.
So it's
And we
such a
survive in that way.
it's a dark
Yeah,
way of telling a love story in that sense, right? About everyone, and at the end, it is all different kinds of love, like love between Joel and Sarah, then Tess and Joel, and then Ellie and Joel. That is we're slowly building up towards, and then the
mm,
third episode. My God,
mm.
I
Villain
mean,
Frank.
I was
Gut wrenching.
oh my God. I mean, I am so glad. I mean,
That is a
I would
standalone
have
episode. Sorry to interrupt you in
yeah,
between.
yeah,
That is such a beautiful standalone episode.
yeah, absolutely. It's like a short film
Yeah,
within a
it's
whole
a
series.
short film.
It's
Yeah,
a whole
yeah.
We
short
got
film.
tricked into a gay romance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
And some people were mad that they made Bill gay, but that
No.
he was in the game. Like we already knew that.
Ellie steals gay porn from him in the video game.
Yeah, yeah.
right, right.
So
Yeah.
It probably
it's
wasn't as
there.
obvious, but
Yeah, and
it's
I don't know how
right.
you even say his last name. Ben Shapiro, Shapiro,
Shapiro, yeah.
Shapiro.
Ben
Yeah,
Shapiro. Yeah.
yeah. He tweeted like he did not like the third episode because it was not about zombies, and the show is about zombies. I'm like,
Hmm.
first of all, they're not zombies, and then and then the show. If you've played the game is not about zombies. It's about
Right.
Connections
it's
and people.
people, and it's about the stories of different people and the world, how the world has evolved, how crazy the world has gotten, how crazy relationships have gotten. And it's like that's what The
It's a
Last of
very
Us is
human
about.
story, just a different world. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very human story.
And the changes that they made, right? When you talk about changes in the third episode with Bill and Frank in the game leaves Bill. It's not a happy ending. It's a
Hmm.
breakup. He
Right.
just gets out of there. He's
They
like,
just
I'm
can't
done.
stand each other anymore by the end of the game.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and we get a glimpse of that. Like
Right.
it was so beautifully put too. Like they're in the bed, and all next scene is
The
him
very next scene is them
yeah, like he's
moving
just
out.
getting
Yeah.
out of the door. It's like, but you don't let me do that. So you see, like in 10 years, what the fuck has changed between these two people, right?
Right.
But I'm
Hmm.
glad they did what they did with this story. I mean, it was sad in the game too, where Frank just went out and he died, committed suicide. Or,
Hmm.
that was the game, the visuals telling the story. But this change was amazing because to be frank, like Bill's story ended where he just went into a store and that's it. We never heard of Bill again. What the fuck happened to him?
Right.
We have no idea.
Mhm.
So what they did with this one and how beautifully it just like again is the message of love, right? Even if it was not a gay love story, even if it was a guy or a girl or anyone, it would have been
Hmm.
as heartbreaking. It was
Absolutely.
it's just a story about love in this
Right.
such a horrific world, right? And the way the writers, the director, the cinematographer, actors, the way they brought it out, this
Hmm.
hats off to these guys. That was one of the most emotionally beautiful stories ever told,
Seriously.
probably in
Yeah.
TV history. And it was they just nailed it. The acting, like what's his name? Um,
I am forgetting.
man, the
Yeah.
guy who plays Bill, such a famous actor. How am I forgetting his name?
Ron Swanson.
Ron Swanson. But yeah, like he's not gay, but
No.
he played the
Hmm.
character, and
Hmm.
he was perfect.
Yeah.
The contrast between these two characters was so beautifully shown. Like
Yeah.
one is all about saving and just being close, and I'm not gonna go anywhere, I'm gonna die right here. And this other
Right,
guy
right, right.
inviting people over,
Yeah.
radio, selling them guns for strawberries, and
Hmm.
he wants to
Hmm.
live, not
Which
just
gun did you sell?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the whole thing, I think one of the most beautiful parts of that episode for me was, then I'm gonna go around with you two,
Mhm.
asking you what was the most beautiful moment in that sense. I won't call it beautiful, but one of, like, creatively one of a genius moments was when, right after the scene where they are kind of like being invaded by raiders,
Mhm.
and Bill
Hmm.
is fighting them off, and he gets shot. He's on the table, and Frank is trying to heal him, and Bill is being all practical. I made a list for you. I made extra keys, duplicate keys
Hmm.
for you. You know where to find them. He's
It's
already being
always on his
a
mind.
guy.
Yeah.
Like he's being a practical guy, and on the other hand, Frank is still being that sweet, emotional person with him.
Hmm.
And we go fade to black, and there's a far away shot where someone is in the wheelchair, and so you
Right.
think, okay, you know what, Bill is now in a wheelchair.
Copter, yeah.
And as soon as
Hmm.
the next shot, Bill is carrying Frank in a wheelchair, and I'm like, whoa, what happened here? Like,
Hmm.
I was expecting Bill to be in the
Mhm.
wheelchair, and that was such a beautiful, creative choice to make, and such a nice shock in that sense. We're like, oh, what the fuck happened here? And yeah, that was
Hmm.
one of my favorite moments of the episode. What about you, Johnny? Let's start with you.
I absolutely adored the ending, very Romeo and Juliet.
Hmm.
But one of my
Hmm.
favorite parts absolutely was when they're fighting, and he's like, it is a fascist government, and he's like, the government is fascist, and he's like,
Yeah.
yeah, now. That just destroyed me. I was pissing myself.
Even the piano one is like, you
Yeah,
know what this is
Yeah.
worth? Nothing right now.
yeah, nothing right now. Oh, that
Hmm.
was so good. That was so
That
good.
was
Yeah.
such amazing.
I
Yeah.
Yeah.
forgot about that one. That was great.
Brilliant writing. What about you, Dinesh? What was the point, which was like,
Yeah. So I
yeah,
liked the depth. So there are pretty much many things. Like I can talk a single episode about this episode,
that
right?
episode? That is,
Uh, right. Yeah. It is such a beautiful episode, and there are so many beautiful points in this episode. It's like the very first moment we are exposed to innocence of Frank when he's in the pothole, and I think Bill asked him something, "Were you bitten or something?" I'm forgetting the question,
mm-hmm.
and then he pauses a bit, and then he
Do you have a
answers,
gun?
and
Do you have
do
a
you have
gun?
a yeah,
And he's
Yeah.
my
like,
bad. Yeah.
he's silent. He's like, no. Like, why did you pause?
Why did you? Yeah,
Yeah. Why did
and
you?
that is showing these two characters in a single minute. How
Yeah.
these two characters are always like Bill is always on top of his mind, is always looking for survival, and is
Survive.
always looking for. He's always kind of restless. He's tensed, and it makes sense because the world he's living in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Frank is like such an innocent guy. Like he knows that he could be shot down, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and still he thinks about it. Then he
He's
pauses,
being
and then he tells,
honest. Yeah.
"Okay, yeah." And then and again, like one of my favorite moments among many favorite moments in this episode is the last one, which is kind of an homage to the video game,
The
them
last
showing a
shot,
window
the
shot,
window, the window.
Oh,
and it is not on. It is such a POV shot. It's like a point of view shot from Bill and Frank, like kind of they've left everything to these couple of people, and then they're watching in peace, and they've died in
Yeah.
peace, and it is not shown like them being dead. Like it is such a poetic moment how this episode plays out. It is like they close the door, and then they leave the whole world behind them,
Mm-hmm.
and even we as viewers are not even kind of
Mm-hmm.
shown or entitled. We are even, because we as viewers are always, we feel like we are entitled to see like whatever what happens behind
Mm-hmm.
in a show, and many of us would have been expecting while watching the show that we would be seeing a last shot, them both being dead in
Being
one of
dead. Yeah. They did not.
in their arms or something,
No.
and it was not shown. It was
Yeah.
just shown like how this is how I interpreted it. The last cinema, the shot that was the panning out of the window, and how it was kind of a it was my perception how maybe Bill and Frank were watching. It was a very
So,
poetic
yeah,
moment. Yeah,
their view of the world was that last window open. They saw. Yeah,
yeah,
I think they just nailed it. And even like again, going back to Ben Shapiro, he was like, it did nothing for the. He said the episode did nothing for the plot, but I think it had one of the most important moments for the plot, where the letter from Bill to Joel that starts something in Joel. When
Right, right.
when
The test
Ellie's
is
reading
emphasized.
when
Yeah.
Ellie reads the whole letter and he's talking to Joel, that I thought the world went to shit and I was so happy. But then
Hmm.
this person, and I thought the world, he's worth saving. And
Right.
you have someone like that, and by that time Tess was already gone. And so please take care of Tess. And that's where Ellie stops, right? And he grabs the letter, he goes out almost in tears. Joel is almost in tears, he's holding back, and he's just standing
Right.
right on the lawn just thinking about it, because guess what? This guy has failed twice. He's
Right. For the very love of his life.
Yeah,
Like
he's
one
failed
time
to
his
save
daughter.
Sarah, he failed to save Tess. Now he has
Right.
Ellie. And even though he doesn't love her that way, but that letter
Yeah.
gave such an important thing to Joel for the whole rest of the show, that I thought that was one of the most important moments of the show. It gave him that push
Yeah.
to do whatever he can for Ellie, and we see that in the next episode, the fourth episode that just came out. We
Yeah.
we see that Joel is ready to do anything for Ellie now. He's opening up to her, and I
Hmm.
absolutely love the pun book. I'm so glad
And in the last
it was like
in the
so.
last scene, she was able to make him smile finally.
Oh man, that was, I think,
That was such a beautiful moment,
that
man.
was
Such a
my
beautiful.
favorite moment of that episode, where Joel
Right.
finally laughs. Not even smiles. He laughs for the first time in the whole freaking show.
With the
And
dumbest joke as well.
Mhm. Yeah,
The
I know.
dumbest joke
The
ever.
dumbest
Is
joke too.
diarrhea is diarrhea in hereditary or something?
Yes.
Yeah, it runs in your genes.
Yeah, it
And,
was.
and for instance, he's just shocked by how stupid this was. And then he just cannot
Yeah.
control himself. He
And
just bursts.
it's shown in such a beautiful way. It is not like the moment he hears it, he is laughing out of it. It is like
Mm.
he is thinking about it
Yeah.
again and again and again in that particular moment, and then he laughs
Yeah,
out
he
because
keeps
it builds up. This
going.
joke is such a stupid joke.
Yeah.
It builds upon you, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And
that
they
was a
build it
beautiful
all
moment.
up. I think, and we can see even with the first few puns, Joel is holding back, smiling. He's just trying to be, you can go inside or you can sit in the car. He doesn't want to show her that, I'm warming up
Yeah.
to you. But,
Hmm.
and then again, the whole car scene, they chose the same song. They
Same, yeah.
did the whole
Hmm.
porno magazine thing. And I think Bella is just nailing Ellie right now. And even both Pedro and Bella, they're like just nailing the characters right now. And the whole sequence with the fight sequence, I think that was so well done too, where they're
Right. Right.
ambushed by the whole group, and how Joel just goes for it, like kills. He's now killing for Ellie. He's like, that's it.
Right.
I'm gonna do whatever it takes. And then the whole,
Hmm.
when Joel gets jumped and Ellie saves him, hats off to that extra for that 2-minute acting where he
Yeah. Yeah.
pleads for his life and for his mom. I think he did a fantastic job. I felt
Yeah.
bad for that guy. I'm like, oh shit.
Right. Right.
He just does that
Yeah.
human side of everyone in this
Mhm.
such a crazy world, right?
It shows that he's saying like we can trade with you, your friends, and
Yeah, your friend,
that
like
is
he
such a
wants to
natural
survive
reaction.
too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's explored much more in The Last of Us 2 than the first game.
yes,
So it's good that they put
Hmm.
put that
something
in.
of that in. Yeah.
Every time there's one guy left, they plead
Yeah.
in the group.
Hmm.
They'll ask
Hmm.
you for mercy, and it's horrific killing
Yeah.
them. Even
Yeah.
with Ellie, she's crying, but she pretends to be strong, right? And in that
Hmm.
moment where Joel is talking to Ellie, and he's like, I'm sorry you had to do this at this age, and she's like this, and she's crying, and
Hmm.
she's like, this is not the first time, and she's wiping her tears off.
Mm.
And that's when both of them had that kind of like a father-daughter moment, where the father comes to her and teaches her how to properly hold the gun and what she needs.
Right.
That's their first bonding moment in that sense. Like, he trusts her now
Hmm.
with a gun because she saved his ass. he would have died. He was almost dead.
Right.
So
Right.
it's like he needs her as much as she needs him right now. They need to work
And
as a team.
and how in one of the dialogues between them, he's telling her that he's been on both the sides, right?
Oh yeah, did you kill innocent
Yeah.
people? And he just has that look on his face. He's like, don't ask me. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, beautiful. Yeah, again, the fourth
Well, we know
episode.
from the first episode that
Mhm.
people are scared shitless of Joel.
Oh yes, he's yeah, he'll do whatever. He's like the muscle for Tess, right? He's the muscle.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
another thing that I would want to point out, the extra character that they introduced. The leader of the group, the woman.
Stalker from Two and a
Kathleen.
Half Men.
Yeah. What were you saying, Divish? I couldn't hear that.
Kathleen.
Yeah, Kathleen. Yeah, Kathleen.
Mm.
And even that was such a like. I love how they introduced.
I like such characters.
Yeah, like I love how they introduce personalities in a way with a very short film within a whole episode. Like her whole introduction, right? First of all, when I heard she's in The Last of Us, she has like the sweetest sound, like voice.
She's a very innocent face.
And,
Like she is a very innocent
and I'm
face,
like,
and that is translating to her character also.
Exactly. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. And she's talking to the doctor who gave birth to her, like not gave birth to her, but delivered her. And
Delivered her. Yeah.
yeah, and it's definitely something really bad went down with her brother. She's definitely pissed off about it. She wants answers. They're trying to find Henry and what's his name?
Sam.
So that is adding another layer to those characters because they did something bad with, or they were somehow involved in something bad happening to her brother. So now she has a motive to find them. And then that whole sequence where she lets the doctor go, she goes outside.
Yeah.
Those injured people from Joel and Ellie are there, and she asks them, will the doctor save them? And the answer is no. And she just goes back and pops his head off. Like, that's it. We don't need you.
And yeah, the best thing about this character is, and it's such a deliberate choice in the casting as well, that she has a very, believable, innocent, decent person's face, right? And she is shown, she's not shown as a, from the Walking Dead, the governor, like how we were shown, a leader like that, right? She is a very, like, she could fall or she could make mistake any moment. But then she's also being trusted.
She could easily be lost in that whole crowd. She would look like one of them. She doesn't look like a leader.
Absolutely.
She doesn't have that.
And yet she's being trusted upon by
The
so
whole
many people.
freaking gang, yeah.
And I love such kind of characters when these kind of characters are.
I'm excited to see where this character story goes.
Sorry.
I'm excited to see what the fuck is in that ground. That whole
man.
Well, I don't know what that
is. Is it something Last of Us Part 2? We are not going to talk much about it.
Yeah, could be. What do you think, Johnny? What's underneath the ground? What's gonna pop up? I heard there are new enemy types in the show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that might be a completely new thing that we haven't seen yet.
A rat king, a rat queen.
Rat queen.
Like, hey.
What about a rat joker? Comes out with it. Oh my god. Well, but yeah, beautifully done. And one of my favorite parts of the game, I think one of the saddest parts for me is about to come. I'm not gonna spoil it for anyone.
Absolutely.
That part absolutely broke me. I want to see how they do it. Do they change it? Do they change it? Because I think that is one of the most trickiest thing. If they want to change it or not, what's gonna happen now? Because it broke me when I was playing that game. I just went in a shock for like a minute or two. Like,
what just happened?
Yes, what just happened? I was like,
Henry.
Exactly. But let's see. I'm very, very excited about the next episode, and we are getting it early.
He's got hit by cordyceps. He's coughing already.
Yeah, I know.
Did you breathe spores? Not good, mate. Not good.
But yeah, and any finishing last words for the episode, Divesh? Not the episode, but the whole show in general.
So I'll add to this thing in a way that the things that are gonna that are meant to come further on the story, the first season or the first game, and then as you know, the second part of the game is being translated into the second season, season 2. that has been announced,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yay.
it will be very interesting because there are certain things that can be shown in a video game quite comfortably, quote unquote, but not maybe in a
On
television
TV.
series or a movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, to such a broad appeal. And this game, the first game and especially the second game, goes to such a dark territory and such
It
a
does.
yeah, it's such a beautiful dark story and dark
And
moment
it's
full
multiple
of
seasons. There's no way they covered the whole
yeah,
season, a whole part two in one season. They have to break it down.
We'll probably do 2 seasons out of it.
Easy to
and
There's 2 stories going on.
easily,
two
yeah.
stories, so many different
Point of
factions
views,
and so many
yeah.
different things happening. Like one of my favorite things is uh the Seraphites, right?
Hmm.
Ah,
What a freaking great group that they have created. With the whole
yeah.
whistling thing. I was just blown away by that whole group by itself, right? So yeah, a lot of
So it'll
things.
be interesting to see, yeah, how much they translate to the show,
What
and
I
which they
love,
could. Cheers to
yeah,
them.
they're not focusing on violence to give out
Right.
their message, which is, and they're still
Hmm.
giving it out, which is kudos to the writers. But yeah, what about Johnny?
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to season 2. I can't deal with that
Or
scene.
or playing golf?
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, definitely not playing golf for the rest of my lifetime. I
Damn.
until now I've been bawling my eyes out in every episode,
Mm,
and so I suppose it's good.
yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I going back to that episode we recorded on video game to movie adaptations, which you can go have a listen to if we can pop a link somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, and until now, because got to be skeptical, but finally, I'm just watching this saying, I'm not playing, but it's a video game. It's
Yeah.
happening. I'm loving it. Absolutely fantastic.
Yep. It's
The cinematography is just beautiful. The colors are
Oh
amazing.
yes. Yeah.
acting. This I can see where the 100 million went.
Yeah, no,
Production design
the
and
chiropractor for Pedro Pascal, because he's carrying the whole weight of the franchise on his back. He's cracked it.
yeah, but beautiful production, beautiful CG effects, the world that they've created, and
Hmm.
just to see all those like iconic places like that tilted building,
Yeah.
and all these little things
Right.
that from the game, all the Easter eggs from the game that are there. The giraffe,
I
the
wonder if
giraffe
we're going to
toy.
see
Oh
giraffes.
man.
Yeah, the giraffe toy was there, and I'm just sitting with my wife. I'm like, oh, the giraffe. They even put the giraffe in there. It's like, what's up with the giraffe? I'm like, you have no idea
Man.
what that scene was to gamers. So I was like, whoa,
Hmm.
showed that. So they're like, they sprinkle like stuff for the gamers here and there. And the biggest one was, of course, the ending of the third episode where the window came up, and I'm like,
Right.
wow, this is perfect.
Wow. Yeah.
That is like a thank you to the gamers. And
Hmm.
yeah, absolutely loving it. I'm excited for the new one, which comes out early and on Friday because of Super Bowl.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yes, so they're releasing the episode early, and it looks like it's going to be crazy. And it's I think 1 hour 15 or 1 hour 20 minutes long. It's a
And
bigger
it'll be
episode.
the mid-season finale also, so it is bound to be a
Yes,
heavy one.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. I think the show has like 9 episodes in total, so we are
But
halfway through.
Yeah.
yeah, so but the first episode was a mixture of like it was a
Two
compilation of
episodes
two
combined in
episodes.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they'll get up to
Yeah.
Tommy next episode.
Yep.
Hmm.
And well, if you see the preview for the next episode, they kind of show what's
I
underneath the
haven't.
ground.
Ah, yeah.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
haven't seen it.
yeah,
I
so
would
don't
be.
watch it. But
Hmm.
no, it looks beautiful, and I think I don't. Maybe they'll do that moment from one of my favorite moments in the next episode.
Could
You know,
be.
stretch it out to another episode. But yeah, exciting stuff. Finally, that curse is broken, and we're all happy. The gamers happy.
Oh yeah, pretty much
Yeah.
contented.
Anyway, yeah. So that was, I think that was a good quick review. As Devesh said, we could have talked about single episodes for hours, but
Mm.
the gamers
Hmm.
pretty much, as this is the gamers parlay, the gamers pretty much know the game inside out. So it was good to discuss the differences, the changes that the creatives have taken in the game. I mean, in the show. Yeah, let's see how we'll do another episode after the end of the series and
Yeah.
the second half of the show. But
Hmm.
thank you guys for dropping in. That was awesome. And so late. I mean,
Thanks, guys.
you guys have both been.
So early, not late.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, too early actually. It was great catching
It's
up.
Yeah.
tomorrow already.
I know. But we're gonna revamp. Yeah, look forward to us trying to revamp the channel, bring in more stuff. If
We need
anyone
more
is
people as
listening,
well.
any suggestions for us, we'll definitely love to incorporate that. But keep an eye out on the channel. We got lots more to come. All right, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you again.
Yeah.
I will see you guys soon. Ciao.
Bye, guys.